Welcome everyone to week one. Hope you had a great beginning of your semester. Last week, we really just went over some intro work. Thank you for your introductions on Flipgrid. I know that sometimes that's not very fun to do, and chances are you've had several of your fellow classmates and maybe myself in another course. Through this, we are going to talk about some tips and tricks for sales. This is your first real week of content. I recognize there's quite a bit, but I wanted to make sure we could go over these things so that you are making the most of your experience this course. So some of these first things, these do's and don'ts, are going to refer directly kind of to the Flipgrid presentations or introductions that I saw. So make sure that through your Flipgrid experiences, and this goes for any sort of presentation, make sure that you are keeping a professional appearance. I know that, most of you are either at home or you're in a dorm or you're around people, friends and people that it's really kind of difficult to keep them quiet. But make sure that you're keeping a professional appearance. You can see that I have a collared shirt on. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just make sure that you have clothes on. Make sure that you have everything covered that needs to be covered. You wouldn't believe some of the experiences that I've seen and some of the responses that I've seen in the past. So keep a professional appearance. Make sure that whatever is on in the background of your video too, that it's professional to be seen. You can see I have a very blank canvas. I'm in a hotel room right now, so I'm doing the best that I can. Virtual backgrounds are also great things. Zoom allows you to have a virtual background. I believe that Flipgrid might as well. Music or loud noises in the background. I understand that this can be difficult at times, but we want to make sure that there's no music and no loud noises going on in the background. The great thing about Flipgrid is that you can start over. These are only 2 to 3 minute 2 to 3 minute posts and then 1 to 2 minute responses. So let's make sure that we are doing the best that we can. Whether you need to tell your parents or you need to tell your family or friends, whomever, your pets, make sure that they're quiet. Let's make sure that we can hear the videos that you're posting. Do not walk away or turn away from your camera. You should always be looking at your screen or into the camera. If you need to look down at phone notes that you wrote down or something like that, that's totally fine. But definitely don't turn away from the camera and definitely don't walk away from the camera while you're recording. Do not lose out on easy points. People. This is easy. The Flipgrid points specifically are so easy to get. The way that people are missing out on points is they're too short. The responses or the initial posts are too short. Read the directions. Your initial post should be at the very least 2 minutes. If you are 1 minute and 59 seconds, you're going to lose points. If you're 1 minute and 56 seconds, you're going to lose points. All right. So make sure that they're at least 2 minutes and that each of your responses is 1 minute each. I know that this sounds probably pretty petty, but this is the reality of it. I'm asking for something pretty simple. So let's just make sure that we're covering the bare minimum. Again, I'm not asking for a lot. I'm asking you to make sure that you're covering the bare minimum of the guidelines that are provided to you. The other thing is ensuring that you're answering the questions. Make sure that you're answering all of the questions that are listed. Again, if you need to write those down or you need to take a picture and then look at your phone while you're responding, let's make sure that we're answering all the questions. You will lose out on easy points. If not ensuring that your video is posted, you should post your video and then you should go in and make sure that it's there. I had a couple people that didn't submit their videos on time. Clearly, you can see if you turn your assignments in on time, you're going to get credit for it. If your videos are long enough, you're going to get credit for it. If your video is there, you'll get credit for it. However, if it's too short, if you're not answering the questions, if it's not posted, or your assignment isn't in on time, then you're not going to get credit. I was fairly lenient this first week. I will not be lenient moving into the future. All right. We've established this. We're covering the information. All right. So make sure that you're doing all of these things. Speak clearly and demand attention. Speak clearly and demand attention. All right. People are not going to listen to you if they can't understand what you're saying. So make sure that you're speaking clearly. Take your time. These are pre-recorded, so there's no need for you to rush through this. Take your time, answer the questions. This is good practice for controlling some of the fear of speaking into a camera, being presentable. I can promise you the more that you do this, the easier that it'll be. But have confidence. These are your opinions. You're talking about yourself. You're talking about your personal experience. You're talking about your opinion. Be confident with it. You're the only one that knows this information about yourself. So control your fear and be confident. Okay. Moving forward, if you think you can, you will. That's very, very simple, right? If you think you can, you will. You can do this. This sales course is meant to take away any sort of negative perception or connotations that go with sales. We will make sure that you get comfortable. All I ask is that you try and that you're willing to put in the effort. And I promise you, this will be a course that you will come out of feeling much more in control of your future and the opportunities that are out there for you. As I just mentioned, no one knows what you're going to say before you say it. It may as well be something worth listening to. Take some time, write some notes out, map out how you can get to the time frame. It seems like a lot of you are submitting videos, and if you would have just planned it out a little bit more, you would have seen that you're 20 seconds short, or you're 10 seconds short, or maybe 5 seconds short. Make sure that you're planning out your responses and take your time saying it so that you can really send something in that's worthwhile to listen to. And then we're going to talk a little bit about just public speaking in general. These are things that, we can always use practice, myself included. I've been speaking professionally in a public setting for a long, long time now. For those that have been in sales in some way, which, by the way, you'll have great sales experience. Don't devalue your experience. I heard a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't know if this is sales experience, or, oh, I don't have sales experience, but I've done this. You do. A lot of you have a lot of really great sales experience, and it doesn't have to be anything too professional either. But you can, in public speaking specifically, find a way to gather the room, the credibility, gather people being there for the room. Start off with a story, start off with a quote. Maybe it's a joke, which is a little bit more dicier, but start off with some way, a metaphor, something that is going to be capitalizing and captivating to the audience. For example, one that I could say right here, being a sports agent is like being a parent. And you're going to think about that. What does that mean? Being a sports agent is like being a parent. What does that mean? Well, you'll have to know. You'll have to listen to find out. So think about ways that you can make this creative. Think about ways that you can really captivate, people so that it's worthwhile to listen to. As we've talked a lot, not everyone wants to be sold the same. So don't worry if you're an extrovert or an introvert. Don't worry if you're a little intimidated. Maybe it just means that you have to have more preparation that goes into it, right? If you get nervous in front of a camera, if you get nervous on screen, take some time and map out really what you're going to say. Listen more and talk less. We're going to talk a lot about that through sales. I know in this particular experience and the Flipgrid videos and things like that, you're going to be talking more than you are listening, but find out your way of listening more and talking less. And then finally, this is all about becoming the best version of yourself. And I promise you, the more that you can be confident in how you communicate, the better off you will be, and the easier that both your personal life and your professional life will be as well. And then lastly, each week I'm going to share with you just a quick story from my experience in terms of whether it's public speaking or sales experience, and how those two kind of correlate together. You're going to see through the TEDx video that I posted where he talks about, overcoming his fear of public speaking. A lot of people are scared of sales because of the public speaking public speaking aspect rather. And I'm going to talk to you about how I overcame mine. You can see there's actually a church listed here. This is Montreat Church Camp in North Carolina, in Montreat, North Carolina. And when I was 8 years old, I was invited to Montreat Church Camp through my local Presbyterian church. And during that experience, my minister was actually going to be taking over this particular church camp for the next week. And what you see listed here, you can see several people in a crowded church and a crowded service. What you don't see is all the people behind where the camera is. And so this congregation is about 3,500 people, so quite a few people. And the night before the last day of camp, as an 8-year-old, my pastor came to me and he said, "Hey, we're going to be going through a transitional service tomorrow." He was going to be taking over the next year. And so he was going to be in charge of the service on the last day of campus as a transitional service. And so he asked me to come in and give a speech, a small sermon on what the church and what my experience meant to me. And so, as you can imagine, as an 8-year-old, I was terrified, absolutely terrified. This was the first time I'd really been asked to speak publicly, at least on this scale. And I can remember all the feelings that you might be having right now going through this course of, sweaty palms. I was clammy. I was nervous. I couldn't put together thoughts. I couldn't put together my words. My first feelings were, I can't do this. I remember saying out loud, I can't do this. There's no way. I'm not going to do this. And Reverend Shirley turned to me and he said, "Yes, you are. And I think it's going to be really valuable for you." And I had no idea what he meant at the time, but there was no way he was going to let me out of doing this. And so the next day I got up and I went to the front. I can remember I was sitting right about here. I walked up to the front and I got on stage and I looked at Reverend Shirley and he gave me this nod of approval that he knew that I could do that. And so I stood up and I spoke and I was terrified. And afterwards, I remember the feeling of elation when I was done, knowing that I had done it and that I didn't have to do it again, right? We've probably all been there in some regard. And afterwards, I was blown away by how many people came down to me and were appreciative of what I had said. But more than that, they were complimentary of the work that I had done and the experience that I had had, and how so many of them said, "I don't think I could have done what you did. I'm so impressed that you were able to do so, and you did a really good job." Now, did I actually do a good job? Probably not. I probably didn't have anything much of value to say, probably wasn't very good, but I did it. I did it. And I'll never forget, since that moment, I've never been nervous about being in front of a camera. I've never been intimidated by speaking to people or trying to sell to people, because I understand that I am in control of what I'm going to say. No one else is. No one knows what I'm going to say before I say it. And it's up to myself to do my homework, to do the research, to have something planned out if I need to do that, and to be prepared to state what it is that I'm trying to convey, such as sales. As of 2 years ago, I was actually home. Actually, it was last year, and I was able to see Reverend Shirley right before he passed away. And I'll never forget what I said to him. I said, "Reverend Shirley," I said, "thank you so much for doing what you did. I don't know if you remember this story, but I'm so grateful for you because of this experience that you gave me, and because of the way that my career has taken off in sales and in professional speaking. And I owe that to you, and I'm so thankful for that." And he said, "Cole, I absolutely remember that. You fought me on doing that, but I knew you could do it. And I'm so proud of you to this day." He passed away a couple of months later, and I was so grateful for that time. So I just want to share with you, if an 8-year-old can get up in front of 3,500 people and speak, then we are all capable of doing this. You don't have to be the extrovert. You don't have to be that person who, is flashy or dashy. You don't have to be the used car salesman. You just have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in what it is that you're selling, whether it's your services or your products. You need to sell yourself in addition to whatever it is that you're selling. And these are all things that you can learn. These are all things that if you put in the effort and the time, that will be beneficial to you both personally and professionally. So I hope that you got something out of this story and from these slides, and I look forward to continuing to engage with you throughout the semester.